Ben and Corley Spell started Good Ranchers several years ago, delivering American meat right to your front door. Today, they are here to talk about how their business has developed just amazingly over the past few years and to tell you what you don't know but need to know about American farming and ranching and the meat that is being imported into the United States without your knowledge. Corley is also going to share with us her recent cancer journey and just how the Lord has shown up for their family. It's a really educational and such an encouraging conversation. You are going to love this. This episode is brought to you by Good Ranchers. Go to goodranchers.com. Use code Allie at checkout for a discount. That's goodranchers.com, code Allie. Ben and Corley, thanks so much for taking the time to join us again. All right, you were on for the first time a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
It's been about 3+ years that we've been working together.
That's right.
As part of the show. So in the last couple of years, just give us a recap on how Good Ranchers has grown and all that.
Wow. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having us.
Yes, so glad to be back.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been like 2 years since we've been here, and
I know.
wow, how things can change. I guess
Yeah.
we had just had Daisy. Is that right?
Yeah, we had our fourth baby
Yeah.
in 2022. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a world like
Yeah.
we
You know,
A
having
lot has
kids.
happened. Yeah.
yeah. So right now we have a 6-year-old boy, a 5-year-old boy, a 4-year-old girl as of yesterday, and a 2.5-year-old girl.
Mhm.
You're just like a tiny bit busy.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Just
Yeah.
a little.
But last year was the first year of the business, of running the business that Corley wasn't pregnant or we had a newborn. And
How was that?
that was it's there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
Yes, it's getting fun. So many
Yeah.
people told us early on, especially having so many children back to back, which newborn season for me is kind of not my favorite. And so
That's weird. Why not?
right. And so many people are like, oh, it only gets harder. And I'm like, that can't be true.
No.
And it's not true.
I don't
No.
think that's true either.
Once they can
No.
be a little bit more durable and
Yeah.
like Bear makes his own ham sandwiches. So
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. I do
but
think
yeah,
when they're
we're-
a little more self-sufficient.
Yeah.
yeah, a lot has happened in the last 2 years. Thank you to your listeners and your show and support. Like we've been growing like crazy, and we never thought we would be here. For those of you who don't know, we was in full-time ministry working at a church in Houston, and God called us to start a meat company, and we knew nothing about agriculture, knew nothing about being entrepreneurs or business, but there's been something in my spirit lately that I've been just wanting to share with more people, and it's when God says go, go. And funny, we were reading in Mark yesterday at a Bible study at our church, and it was how Matthew was called, and it says that Jesus was walking by and he saw Levi, and he told him to follow him, and he immediately went and followed him, and that was just such a reminder of like, you don't have to ask a bunch of questions. When God says go, you go, and he's gonna equip you, he's gonna provide for you, he's gonna go before you, and that's truly been our journey. It's truly been our story. And we started in 2018 after just having a newborn and didn't know anything about anything, and but God just really prepared the way and opened up the right doors and closed the wrong doors, and then we started selling out of trucks and parking lots, and then we launched online because the world went shut down in 2020 because of COVID, and we've just been and even in our space, we've been seeing tremendous growth these last few years, and so many other e-commerce companies in our space have been, as I get to know more people and talking, they can't believe that we're continuing to grow. Like we grew significantly last year, and we're growing again this year, and so many others are really or not growing or struggling staying in business, and it's just a complete testament to God called us to do it, and we're we're still following that.
Yeah.
I'm so curious how you guys decided to kind of forge your marketing and advertising strategy, because it has been so creative, so effective. You've partnered with so many conservative podcasters and conservative shows over the past few years. Like, at what moment, maybe it wasn't just one moment, but did you say, okay, this is what we're going to do? We're going to basically be like the meat company of the conservative podcasters. I don't know if that's what your thought was, but it's brilliant if so.
It is crazy how that kind of like just evolved and happened. And by crazy, I mean, obviously God's hand was all over this, but I mean, it was in the very beginning. We were just trying to think of, okay, who would want to support what we want to support with our business, with America first, families, ethically sourced, responsibly raised, all those things. And I was like, well, it's someone like me. And I'm like, what do I like? And I'm like, I like Allie. And then from there, you just kind of, connect the dots.
What actually started a little bit before, Charlie Kirk was the first.
That's
and we wanted to support Turning Point USA because we love them as an organization and having young children and family and, actually caring about the future of our country. So we wanted to support Turning Point, and then so we started sponsoring Charlie's podcast, and it worked well for us. And then the same with your podcast, Corley. I don't think you remember, but we weren't really thinking that you would do great for us. No offense, but Corley loved your show and wanted to support your show, and she's like, "Hey,
I knew you would do great."
But no, I'm saying like it wasn't we think this is like we didn't have like the marketing strategy of this is how we're going to build our brand or build the business. We were early on we were wanting to support like causes, people that we believed in, and like Charlie Kirk, and then yourself, and then that's when we started connecting the dots of kind of the conservative political commentary.
And we're still using that same strategy and like going into newer markets and newer segments. Like, okay, where else is this listener at? Where are they spending their dollars, their time, stuff like that with like IndyCar.
Yeah,
that's why we did that, because we saw a lot of play over there.
Has there ever been a moment where you got the attention of like someone, I don't know, in media that you were like, whoa, this person knows who we are or has talked about us? Or
Joe Rogan.
Okay, so tell me about that, because I know that I think I've seen y'all interact maybe on Instagram or something. So tell me about that, because I mean that's huge.
Oh my god,
that's the biggest.
I still remember that day.
It was last January. We were it was a Saturday, and
we were just at home with the kids.
And I think it was either you or me, but we were like, babe.
Alarms are going off.
Yeah. Joe Rogan shared one of our Instagram, and we had noticed a few weeks or maybe a few months before. I was like, hey, Joe Rogan follows Good Ranchers. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And but never thought that he would like share or repost anything. And he did a hard repost, and on one of our
blogs.
On one of our blogs. Thank you. And it just really took off with his audience. I mean, we got multiple tens of thousands of followers like
wild,
that day, and which Instagram is really hard to grow on these days. So that was him.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Y'all haven't gotten on the show yet, right?
No.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
Maybe that would be awesome. Okay, first sponsor for the day is EveryLife. This is America's only pro-life diaper company. It's what we use in our house. We love that it's made from premium ingredients, but we love even more that they stand for life. Unfortunately, a lot of diaper companies, they're taking your dollars, they're donating to pro-abortion causes, organizations, politicians, which is crazy to think about, but it's just true. But EveryLife is supporting mothers. They're supporting the mothers, the families that work for them, but they are also supporting the families in need by donating needed items to these moms in crisis to make it easier for them to choose life. You can actually go to their website, everylife.com, and purchase their Buy for a Cause bundle. That bundle of resources of baby items will be sent to a mom in need, again, to make it easier for her to choose life for her child. If you subscribe to their diaper box, everylife.com, that gives you a discount on your purchase, but it also just makes your life a lot easier. Again, that's what we enjoy in our home. So go to everylife.com. When you use code Allie10, you get a 10% discount on your first order. Everylife.com, code Allie10. Okay, so you said, Ben, that you doubted the relatable audience. You doubted us, but then you never finished that thought.
Oh no, Allie,
come back to it.
Yeah, no, we love you. We love your audience. We love your show, and and you've grown so much over the last few years. Your show's grown over the last few years, and it's been amazing. Like we're grateful to be here. We're grateful to be a part of the Blaze. And
I think that I don't think either of us really knew, because for me it was such a unique product to advertise because I hadn't before, and I have such a female dominant audience. And I think we learned a lot too, that it's largely women who are like, I don't want to go to the grocery store anymore, and this is a lot more convenient.
Isn't it so freeing just to be able to just get your produce?
100%.
I mean, you're still spending like a couple $100s, but
but just to not have to worry about that, and to wonder if the sticker that says made in the USA means made in the USA, or it means packaged in the USA. It's
which is getting
peace of mind.
It's getting harder and harder now, that they keep changing laws and passing different things, and it's so hard for consumers to know who to trust and how to trust, because now they've opened up, you can import from, it's mostly coming from Mexico, but you can import it as long as it's in a feedlot in the United States for 90 days. It can get a USDA grade, where before it could only be USDA inspected. It could say product of USA and say USDA inspected, but now, as long as it sits in a feedlot, which you don't want anyway, but it can get a USDA grade, which could grade out USDA Prime, which the grocery store, USDA Prime or USDA Choice, those used to be limited for born, raised, and harvested in the U.S. only, and now as long as it's in a feedlot for 90 days, they can get a USDA grade as well. So they keep changing things that make it less transparent for the consumer. So we're actually in the process of now combating that and making sure that we have full transparency even to our customers, that born, raised, and harvested, or born, raised, and made in America, because some people don't like harvested, but it is what we have to do. But we're fighting to take another step to make born, raised, and harvested, or born, raised, and made in America a USDA claim that has to be on there.
And why is that important for them to be born in the U.S.?
American agriculture is the backbone of our country, and farms and ranches are going out of business at an alarming rate because they can't. I think the average age of a rancher right now is 58. It's a and these interesting. And ranches that have been around for hundreds of years and generational are having to close their doors because they can't keep up. Like, the price of meat keeps going up, and the price that the ranchers get is basically staying the same from decades ago. This year was a little bit better, honestly, but because supply has been low. But as a whole, the American ranchers, the independent ranches, they can't keep up with the big conglomerates of the three biggest meat. They call them the big three, the big packers. They just can't keep up with the billions of pounds that get imported. Like over 3 billion pounds of beef imported last year.
A lot cheaper, right?
It's a lot cheaper, and it's far inferior to what we raise here. So how do y'all navigate that? Because I'm sure that makes your job a lot harder.
especially as they start expanding the definition of made in the US, as you said, you're like, now you're having to investigate, okay, were these really born in the US? Whereas maybe before you could just kind of trust it. Like, how are y'all doing that? It just seems like that in and of itself would be a full-time job.
Yeah. Putting in the work. And I mean,
hiring the staff to help do it. I mean, you're right. Like, it does like add a whole other position.
I have meetings I'm flying to Phoenix, Arizona, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and have meetings looking at all of this and how we're changing and adapting. And then at the end of the month, I'm going to Kansas we're constantly looking at new supplies, looking at new farms, vetting new things. So, I mean, we just stay very involved.
And I think that's when it's
because
important.
We have so much time.
Right. So much. But I think that's when it's important to really like know who you're supporting with your money, like who's running the company and what decisions are they making. Because yes, it would be so easy for us just to accept the inferior product, the cheaper price tag, and sell that. But that's not what we want. And that's not what our customer wants. And so even though it is more work, I mean, we care about it. And that's why we're doing it. And
more expensive. Yeah. I mean, truthfully, like and we keep getting met with, as there's supply issues, the price goes up. And so, our price is up. The price of what we buy product up at right now is up. I think last time I looked, 180% over 2 years ago, but our prices haven't went up 180%. Like,
right.
And they just keep going up. And our CFO keeps telling me,
gotta raise
prices.
You
gotta raise prices. And, but we always set out that we want to be able to provide an amazing product, transparency, and, that you can trust. And we want people to be able to afford it. Like, we don't want it to have to be a special occasion. That's why we launched the weekly essential box this year. Cause we know that the grocery store is putting a hurt on everyone's wallet. And we are not the cheapest. But if you go to the grocery store, you can spend less than you would spend with us. But the quality is not the same. Exactly. It's not apples to apples. And, we care about what we put in our body. I think food is fuel. Yeah. And we should be, our body's a temple, and we should be putting quality into it.
And you're paying for not just the quality, but you're paying for the convenience, which is one of the biggest aspects for me. I mean, I also have, kids 5 and under. And so not having to go to the grocery store to get my meat, not having to think, I don't want to think too. It's just too much mental energy to be like, okay, how can I tell if this cow was born in the US? Like, I don't want to do that. I want other people to do that for me. And I want it to show up on my front door. You're paying for like the packaging, the dry ice, all the stuff that is necessary, especially in the heat, to get that meat to you frozen, which it still is incredibly. And to have that peace of mind, I think it 100% is worth the extra dollars. And I also think that in the end, it does save you money, not just with health, because you're making an investment in your health. But I spend less time at the grocery store because I always have meat there. And if if I have nothing else, at least I can cook chicken. Yeah. And so I don't go to the grocery store as much. And so I don't spend money on things that I don't need. Yeah. And so, there's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you can always make more money, but you can't make more time. So
exactly.
That's a good point.
It's huge. It's huge. What else do you guys wish people knew about meat in the United States, farming in the United States, that most people just don't know?
It's a lot harder than people think. Yeah, like the other side of the industry. So like your PETAs, the plant-based, all of those people, they've done a really good job of kind of dehumanizing farming in general, and taking the face of the farmer, the face of the rancher, just away, and making you think that there's a cow, you don't even know where it came from. But cow goes into factory with smoke, and out comes a hamburger. And like they've done a really good job of de-educating the consumer, and we're so far removed from what it actually takes to produce food for your families, for our families. There's people that look just like all of us that are working sun up, sun down, 365 days a year, raising animals, raising produce, like doing the things to put the food on our table. And that's what I wish, we want to, we had a grand plan going into this year of really telling the story of this as a rancher. And then life kind of hit us pretty hard this year with Corley's health. So that project got put on hold.
Mm-hmm.
We're about to pick that up because we want people to really, we need to get back to understanding what ranching is, what farming is, where your food's coming from, because it doesn't just appear. And cows, for example, I mean, it's a 2.5 year process from birth to harvest, and somebody's taking care of that. They're not in a factory. At least what we sell. And the funny thing is, what is actually made in factories and labs is the plant-based meat, the lab-grown meat. That's legitimately factories trying to produce this food that they then put with lots of green and try to make it pretty, but
look healthy.
But cows are being raised in pastures outside and by actual humans.
Well, what do y'all think about the lab-grown meat? I mean, in June 2023, we have in our notes, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration granted permission for several companies to sell lab-grown meat, making America the second country after Singapore to allow it. This is from The Economist. I mean, I don't even know. Do y'all even know what lab-grown meat is? Because I don't really.
Yeah. It's cultured meat. They're taking like the cells and they're growing them in a petri dish. And I think Is
this the same as the 3D printed meat?
No, it's slightly different, but it's gross. And it's,
wild. Because you have to put a bunch of fake stuff in it for it to grow.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And, all of that stuff is really, it's,
who just announced or they're about to restructure for bankruptcy?
Beyond, I don't know. One of those. One of them. None of them were being very successful because people.
So disgusting.
People are smart, and
if you're reading the label,
exactly.
I just think I don't even think it's right for them to be able to call that meat.
It shouldn't. Yeah.
I think that in itself is very misleading.
Yeah.
Meat is meat.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be able to.
It's like if you want to have a black bean burger, it's not my thing, but you can have that.
Yeah.
But to have, I don't even understand why you would want imitation meat. Just eat the vegetable if you're going to eat the vegetable. Right. Why try to have something look and taste like meat that's filled with all kinds of gross stuff?
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, mRNA vaccines. That's something that I've kind of been reading in my ads for a little while now, that the meat that you guys have are free of these mRNA vaccines. In 2022, the USDA approved the use of sequivity. I don't know. An RNA-based vaccine developed by Merck Animal Health. The vaccine became commercially available on November 1st, 2023, and now with its newfound accessibility, there's a possibility that pork products may now be treated with this vaccine. Is this something that farmers and ranchers are running into?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to be really clear, because we do get accused sometimes of fear mongering, and that's the last thing. We want to educate, we want to talk about it, and but I will be very vocal on, if we don't talk about things, the government will just slide it in, and we will never know. And that's what happened with the cool law. That's what happens. That's what's happening now with the grading system of, as long as it's 90 days, nobody knows this stuff, and so. We're never trying to fearmonger when we're putting out this information, but the mRNA has been being tested for over a decade for animal use in the United States and all over the world, and so when this stuff started getting released, we did put out a pledge to not use the mRNA vaccine. And some of the fear mongering that we got accused of with that is because at the time it wasn't legal for use, but they were talking about doing it. So we came out and said, hey, we're going to draw a line in the sand. We're not going to source, we're going to get involved. We're going to not use the mRNA vaccines in our meat. And so many people were just like, oh, well, it's not even legal for use. And I'm like, yet, but if we don't talk about this, if people don't get loud,
let's not wait until it is.
I think we've all realized as society, and this, I know you've heard the phrase that strong men create good times create weak men create hard times, and hard times create strong men.
Yeah.
And that's just the cycle. And, we're really coming, I don't know where we're at in that cycle, but it's, we've stayed.
The end of the good times and the weak men, for sure.
Yeah. We had really good times, and we've had a very weak generation. Not going to name who it is. But, and we've stayed, and a part of that weakness is just staying silent and thinking that other people, and I'll be the first one to say the church stayed way too silent for way too long on way too many issues where we should have been vocal, but out of wanting to show love and be Christ-like, we sat back trying to intentions were good, but we stayed way too silent on way too many issues. And so for us, we're like, no, we're going to talk about this stuff. We've got to make it known. It's not fear mongering, because if we stay silent and just assume that the government's going to have our back and do the right thing, or big tech or big meat, that sounds weird.
But I mean, if COVID taught us anything, it's that.
Absolutely.
Get ahead of it.
Yeah.
You better be loud.
Yep. All right, let me tell y'all about Patriot Mobile. Americans are so tired and frustrated that we are buying things from companies that are then turning around and using our money to support causes that we don't believe in. Patriot Mobile, you don't have to worry about that with them, because they are a pro-life, pro-First and Second Amendment, pro-veteran and first responder company, and they are not using our dollars to actively work against us. This is a way that you can stand for conservative causes, and they make it really easy. Switching is so simple. They've got a 100% US-based customer service team. They'll give you free activation too with my promo code Allie. You get the same great service, but you don't have to worry about funding progressive politicians and causes when you switch to Patriot Mobile. So go to patriotmobile.com/Allie. That's patriotmobile.com/Allie. Y'all talked about on the last episode, the last interview, how God really called y'all to do this. I mean, you were in full-time ministry. You have, and I think still have the event planning company, right? And so this was a totally kind of foreign world for y'all. How have y'all seen God work, especially over the last year or so?
Lots of ways. So I'll go back to my health journey. So in 21, I was first pregnant with our fourth baby, barely pregnant, like five or 6 weeks. I'll speed up that part of the story. I was diagnosed with skin cancer. They found a mole that they biopsied, came back with melanoma. Super scary, especially being pregnant. But I still had so much peace in that time. I remember that season. But going to MD Anderson and being pregnant with cancer, they're not super happy that you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Thankfully, they weren't trying to push me to make any decisions like that, but I could feel it. But we prayed about it. We felt comfortable about doing the surgery in the second trimester. So we did. Baby was safe. Everything was removed. They didn't see anything else. And so went on, to have a healthy baby, 40 weeks. But during that time, they were asking us very hard questions like, are you prepared to deliver your baby at 24 weeks? And are you prepared, Dad, to not have mom here and it's just you and the 3 other kids, you know, just all of that stuff just thrown on you. It's just so hard.
So much.
But anyways, praise God, we were fine. But then in January of this year, I felt a swollen lymph node in my groin, which was very concerning. And so I went in, did a biopsy. Sure enough, that had melanoma in it. And so since January, we've been on this healing journey. I don't even like to say the word cancer because I hate it. I never like accepted that or like let it take root in me. But since January, we've been on this mission of healing, and there's been a lot that's happened since January. And June 10th, that's when I had my big surgery. But I can say now that I'm healed and there's no evidence of disease. Praise God.
Praise God.
So now we're walking on the other side of it. But you asked like, what did you ask? How have you seen God move? Or yeah.
I mean, it can be, you know, through your business, but also just in your lives, since those are inextricably intertwined.
Yeah, for sure. I think seeing God through this season, through this year, being able to maintain the business and maintain everything that we work so hard alongside God to put together, like that to still remain whenever we're dealing with so much at home, like that in itself has just been a miracle. So I think, like you said, like they're very much together, and seeing him like in both of those spaces with us through all of this has been really huge.
Yeah. And the ability to, and honestly, the ability to have a platform to testify of God's goodness, his grace. And I learned this year, I've been a believer since I was 14. And, but I learned for the first time this year, truly what having a peace that passeth all understanding really is, because, the part Corley didn't say was, I mean, she was bedridden for almost 2 months. I mean,
so hard.
Between the immunotherapy and the chemotherapy, and then the tumor got infected, but they didn't know it, and they thought it was just a response to the immunotherapy. And it was, I mean, she couldn't walk. I mean, it was just devastating to go through that. But that's when I realized that this is what peace that passes understanding is, to be going through extremely hard times, but because we have God, like, and he's there with us, like the Holy Spirit is such a comforter. And like as hard as that season was, and the business was, it's like the parallels between home life and the business was kind of uncanny, because in April, when she's bedridden, the business basically crashed. Like the software that everyone's information is completely safe. We changed all of our back end and our servers and all of our technology. We were switching all that to a different platform to be safer, to be better, and but it just completely it hurt the business. It didn't go well. Again, this is not about any type of security or people's information, but it really took a hit on what we were doing in April, which was right at the time.
It was like the height of everything.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. It's like it rains, it pours. And so she's like,
what I was thinking.
Like she's in bed, you know, just so sick from what we thought was the therapy. So it was actually an infection. And then, you know, we got through that in early May. We went to do a follow-up, and
I mean, he's like wheeling me into MD Anderson.
Yeah, she was in a wheelchair. And we go in to see the doctor and then to see the surgeon, and the doctor tells us that her cancer laughed at the therapies,
immunotherapy,
that she's had no response. The cancer spreading, it's just getting bigger.
That's the last thing
we're gonna have to do this 13-hour surgery and do a full dissection of like all of this area into
My lymph nodes,
and we're just like devastated. And then we go straight from there to the emergency room because she couldn't walk. And then in the emergency room at MD Anderson, they realized that they were like, hey, I think this might be an infection. And so then they started her on an antibiotic to like get rid of the infection. And we're so thankful that we have a holistic doctor that we also run everything by. And we talked to him a couple of days later, and he said, hey, before you go to do the surgery, have them scan again. He said, because you can't tell the difference in a whatever kind of scan they are doing. CT scan. Infection and cancer looks very similar. So she called her doctor and said they wanted to do another scan. And they were like, why do you need to do another scan? We know everything. We've seen everything. And we're like, well, but can't infection look the same? Yeah, it can. But, we've been doing this. We know what we're looking like. Long story short, after the infection got cleared up, we went back in for another scan, and they go, oh, wow, you've had a response. And so the surgery was a lot less. It was still a big surgery.
Yeah.
And
but
then
not as invasive. I'm so glad that y'all pushed back, because I've been in situations not like that, but you're just scared to question the doctors because and some doctors, I don't know about yours, but they make you feel like you can't.
Absolutely.
Like, I know what I'm doing. You don't know what you're doing. We don't need to do that. And so it's easy to just say, okay, if you say so. But I've just heard so many stories of people advocating for themselves. And then it was that advocacy, the second look, the second opinion that changed the game.
Yeah. And so after the surgery, full biopsy, every bit of cancer they removed was completely dead. So she actually did have a response.
Wow.
And if we've learned anything this year, it's we're thankful for doctors. I don't think they're out to get us. But you have to advocate for yourself, and you have to do your research and
get a second
and a third opinion and then pray about what decisions you're going to make. And because I do believe that they're trying their best, but at the same time, we're just a number of lots of other and they're also human. And so I think also you should sift through how much of this is pride, because I felt like we had a lot of that from my oncologist. I feel like it was very hard for her to say, okay, I was wrong. This actually did work. And so I did it for her, in a nice, loving way. I'm like, hey, like your first plan worked, like it did work. And she's like, well, maybe. So yeah, just understanding the humanity of them as well.
Okay, I love Sherwood Kids, and I'm so excited that they're partnering with Relatable, because they are perfect for my audience. If you are a busy parent and you just need sometimes 30 minutes or an hour a day for your kid to be entertained so you can get something done like cook dinner, but you don't want to sit them in front of a screen. You don't want them to be playing video games. You want them to be entertained by something that is educational and also not addictive. Then you need to check out this brand new platform called Sherwood Kids. It's a low stimulation platform that helps kids develop a love for reading without becoming addicted to screens. With thousands of wholesome audiobooks, ebooks, and read-along videos, Sherwood is filled with the kind of stories that we actually want our kids to enjoy. It's presented in a fun and entertaining way and also promotes really good values. Go to sherwoodkids.com/Allie. You can get 50% off a lifetime membership. sherwoodkids.com/Allie. Sometimes I do feel like doctors have to be kind of coddled like that, because that is kind of like coddling, like, you did good. It's fine. It shouldn't really be about that at all. There is a human aspect, but also it seems more so in those kinds of situations, the ego factor. I mean, that is the nightmare scenario. That is the worst nightmare, to leave behind your children and to face that possibility, and even just to be on bed rest. And I know that you mentioned just the peace that passes understanding, the Holy Spirit being a helper. But were there any dark moments, especially during bed rest, where you were like just thinking of the worst? And how did you get out of that?
Yeah, lots of moments like that. Gosh, because I was running fever, like super high fever for so long. And so it's kind of like out of my mind.
Yeah.
Also, can you even talk about it?
Yeah. It's so hard to see someone that you love go through something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Not, but again, we're through it. Yeah, we're on the other side. And it is a healing journey, and God is good.
But you talk about like the scary thoughts of like leaving your children behind and like dealing with your own mortality and walking through those scenarios is something I don't wish on anyone, but it actually did bring to light some idols that I had. And one was like, are my children going to be okay?
Yeah.
Without me? And yes, they are. Like,
yeah.
So that was it sucked, but it was also like a good realization to have, because just, as much as I love them, he loves them so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to have for Corley to be a mom and not be able to hold her newborn, to not be able to put her down for, like I said, newborn, she's 2 and huge, but not to be able to put your 2-year-old baby to bed and
the youngest stay newborn.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
I also have an 11-month-old newborn.
Yeah.
So,
and all 4 kids they're all young, but the youngest ones are just crying. They want mama, they want mama, they want mama. And she just, and I just, I can't be that for her, like for them. And, again, this was by far the hardest season.
Yeah. And you asked like how we made it through. I mean, I was constantly in prayer, like every moment of every day.
Yeah.
In prayer. Even when I didn't believe, I just remember the story from Mark of the father of the son who's demon possessed, and he's asking Jesus for a miracle, heal my son. He's like, I believe, help me with my unbelief. And that was my prayer for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, your show is relatable. So I'm sure some people can relate to this. And, she did have fever, and I think for so long. And there were times where I'm trying to comfort her and like, babe, you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. And she's like, don't belittle what I'm going through.
I know, it's funny. You still deal with the marriage stuff and, on your deathbed.
Don't you belittle this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not belittling it. I'm trying to believe here.
Trying to be positive.
I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah. But it was the hardest thing we've ever had to walk through. And, but I have to tell you, I never fully doubted. I never asked why me. I never asked that. I just said, what's this for? Who's this for? Use me. And I feel like my story is to strengthen other people's faith and encourage them and point to Jesus. So that's what we're doing.
If you could talk to someone who is going through the same thing, maybe it's the husband, maybe it's the wife, they have kids, they've gotten this diagnosis, whatever it is, what is the one thing that you would want them to know?
One thing to know. I mean,
second opinion,
yes, but ultimately we serve a really big God. And for whatever reason, I guess because I had never faced something like this, I never fully believed that I could experience a miracle. Like I always believed it for other people, and I'm like, this can happen. It does happen. I'm reading, I'm seeing it, but for whatever reason, I just kept that away from me. But just knowing that he loves you too. He loves you just the same. He can do it for you. If he can do it for me, he can do it for you. So the biggest thing I want to share and spread is just hope.
Well, praise God. I'm so thankful y'all are on the other side of it. I mean, I remember following along on Instagram, but now I have a lot more detail to what I was reading, but I was just praying for you so much. Thank you. I haven't been in that situation, but I mean, yes, as a human, but especially as a mom, I mean, I can at least imagine just the pain and the fear and all of that. But praise God. And thank you for sharing your testimony too.
Yeah. Sorry
for that.
It's a little contrast from the meat industry, but
no, we went right into it. It was perfect. So
and people need to
get
I did not realize that I thought, skin cancer, that's not a big deal. Like the first time.
Yeah, you just kind of have this.
People need to get checked. If you're not getting checked, go to a dermatologist, get checked. Because honestly, we were at the dermatologist for me because she saw like I had a cyst on my side, and that's all it was. And she was like, you should get that checked out. And I'm like, that's no big deal. And then, this was, several years ago. And then at the dermatologist while we were there, she decided, she was like, hey, well, what's this on my leg? And then she's like, I need to take that off and look at it. And the earlier you catch it, the better. And so if you don't go to the dermatologist to get checked out, you should.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. All right, last sponsor for today is My Patriot Supply. So we're talking about the unexpected. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. It would be smart to get an emergency food supply stash for your family. This is a 3-month emergency food supply kit that gives you 2,000 calorie a day meals every day for 3 months. You want to get one kit for every member of your family. We have them in our house. Of course, the hope is that you never have to break into them, that you never have to use them. But it's so much better to be safe than sorry. If you get into that scenario, you will be so glad that you made this purchase. And they're good in storage for up to 25 years. Put it in a cool, dry space. It's good to go. You can forget about it until you need it. If you go to preparewithallie.com, you can save $300 on your mega 3-month emergency food kit. Preparewithallie.com for that amazing discount. Preparewithallie.com. Okay, as we wrap, I think that y'all said that you have an announcement, a fun announcement.
Yes, it's very early. Do you even know what I'm going to tell them?
Yeah.
It's very early
on. You said you told me what it's not, but
it's very early on this announcement, but we'll give you a sneak peek.
Yeah, so we've been working on launching chicken nuggets.
Oh,
So we're super excited.
I'm so excited. I love chicken nuggets.
Yeah, and this like whole meat chicken, by definition, a nugget is ground up chicken.
Yeah.
And you really don't want that.
Yeah.
Like this is like whole meat.
Yes.
Amazing. Same quality, our same chicken that we use for our chicken breasts. Like we make nuggets out of them. They're gluten-free. They're awesome. But we are going to be, every other nugget on the market, if you go look in the ingredients, they're either fried in canola oil, sunflower oil, vegetable all seed oils.
Yep. Cannot find even organic. All has seed oils. Yeah.
We will have the only nugget on the market not using seed oils. We're going to use avocado oil, which is a healthy fat, healthy oil, high smoke point, and we're super excited to be able to offer that.
That alone is reason to subscribe to Good Ranchers, because I've made my own chicken nuggets before. And they were delicious, but took forever.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also don't want to be feeding, seed oils every time they want chicken nuggets. So I'm pumped about that.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
No, it's been a big hurdle, because we've been finding somebody to make it. I mean, we've just had obstacle after obstacle after obstacle of nobody does this. Nobody does this. And we're like, but we made a decision long ago. We only want to sell what we would feed to our family and what we would feed to our kids. So we actually just got the news that we were able to do it yesterday. So
green light.
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
do you know the timeline?
It's I don't want to. It should be within the next 6 weeks to 2 months, but because we're right there. Honestly, the oil is where we got held up.
Yeah,
and.
We had packaging done and everything, and then
the oil,
such a hurdle.
And we were being pushed to just use vegetable oil or just use canola oil. Everybody does it. Everybody does it, and we're like, no, we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
And so we just got the green light. yesterday to do it. So super excited.
The Stuckey household's going to have a chicken nugget party.
Yes.
We'll
you get chicken nuggets.
We'll make sure our subscribers know first, though.
Yeah. That is awesome. Woohoo! Well, thank y'all so much. Thanks for sharing the news and your story and your insight and everything meat related. Thank y'all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Allie.
Yeah, thanks for having us.